pair of hikers from Rhode Island have been rescued after getting stuck in treacherous terrain on Mount Washington.
At least one hiker expressed they were feeling symptoms of hypothermia. Officials tell us the hikers were brought to safety around 10 p.m. and thankfully there were no injuries.
This was no drill, but a real-life emergency deep in the White Mountains.
Broadcasting from the Woodpecker Studio in the Live Free or Die state of New Hampshire. Welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, occasionally including the counties of Belknap, something like that, and or is it Coos County? Whatever. Here are your hosts, Mike and Stomp.
Okay, this is episode 166. Let's get down to brass tacks.
Yeah, 166. Any good references with that number?
No good references, but I do want to apologize for being a little bit late here. I was down in a rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah? What kind of rabbit hole?
Well, I was trying to dig up some history on the Watcher.
Oh.
So we're going to talk about that. And I was reading some things I have about the history of the Watcher. And it first appears in a guidebook in 1876, the Osgood White Mountains Guidebook. They talk about the Watcher, and there's another profile called the Infant, and a couple of other ones that I got to dig into to figure out. But it's a pretty... So then I clicked on a link and I was able to find the guidebook. It's in like Digital Commons, so you can actually... So I started reading the whole guidebook, and they're talking about like the history of the names, and they're talking about how one historian talked about the entirety of the White Mountains and called it Jeezlouisehoops. I can't say that word. So he called the entirety of the White Mountains that, and then there was a few other people that had different versions of Wambach, different spellings of Wambach, which essentially means like white, supposedly. And then I was reading about how the White Mountains were actually first referenced by a couple of sailors in like the 1500s. They spotted the mountains, and it makes sense why they call them White Mountains, because they could see them from the ocean. And probably in the spring, I would guess, they would see them and they would still be snow covered. So I think that's probably why they were like, oh yeah, those big white hills out there. But then anyway, I started looking and I was like, well, Osgood White Mountains Guide, is this the Osgood that, the Osgood that wrote this book? Is he the one who the Osgood Trail and the Osgood tent site is named after? Yeah. And then I was looking, and it's actually the publisher is a different Osgood than the Osgood that had the tent site and the trail named after him. That Osgood is like a local guide, and he had, I guess, been involved in just like some of the early tourism. So different guy. But that's what happens, Stomp. Once you start digging, you start looking at names, and you end up all over the place.
Right. So are you going to reveal this at some point in the future about the Watcher?
Well, I mean, I'm going to talk about it. We did a hike today, so that was, and I was like, well, maybe I can do a little history segment on it. So I was just looking for a little bit of a background, but I didn't get much other than the first mention of it was 1876. But we'll talk about it in more detail. But Benjamin Osgood is a famous guide that worked at the Glen House in the late 1800s, and he was the one that opened the path leading to the Glen House to Mount Madison. So that's ultimately like the approach, the Osgood path and the Osgood cutoff. So.
Right.
Anyway, so my mind wanders, Stomp, when I start thinking about this stuff.
Well, you have all this time on your hands now, too.
Yeah.
In fact, deep exploring.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is I'm supposed to be upstairs with the girls watching Below Deck, and you're interrupted.
Yeah, and why did we have to jumble up the schedule this week?
Because I have gum surgery, and I forgot that I wasn't going to be able to talk tomorrow night. So we're on a Wednesday night recording. We have a guest that we'll talk about in a minute that's coming in. And I just was sitting in my desk yesterday, and I realized, I was like, wait a minute, I can't record on Thursday night because I'm getting this gums. Have you ever got this done, Stomp? The gum surgery?
No. What are they doing exactly?
It's called gum grafting. So they peel a chunk of skin off the roof of your mouth, and they then graft it onto the side of your gums so that it protects the roots of your
so they're
teeth.
receding?
They're receding, yeah. My gums are receding.
Yeah,
so,
they get super sensitive.
Yeah,
mine
exactly.
are sort of doing that as well, a little bit.
Yeah, well,
No, I have not had that done, but it can be really uncomfortable when they start getting lower.
Yeah, I've had it done before, probably 5-6 years ago, and one of them didn't take, so we're going back in to try to do that section again.
Yeah, wow, interesting. This shouldn't be happening to a 20-year-older.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. That's a good point.
We don't want to give away our age here, Mike.
Yeah, well, I think anybody that has a brain knows that we're, north of 50 at this point, so.
Well, good luck. We came up with some good trail names for you. We have Forest Gums.
Oh, I like that.
That's a good one. We have Gummy Bear.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's all right.
Not original.
And then my favorite is Chemin de Gums.
That's a good one. Chemin des Gums.
Well, good luck. Hopefully you'll survive.
Yeah, I think if I recall the last time, it was tough to speak the first day or so, and then after that, it's just like uncomfortable. You have stitches in your mouth and stuff. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. No biggie.
Perico Dental in Reading. So I'm putting their name out here. So they better do a good job just in case somebody listens.
The new sponsor.
Yeah. Treat me well.
Oh, God. For the older demographic.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So welcome to episode 166. This week we are joined by the fun and fabulous Jeezlouise. Jeezlouise is a well-traveled hiker and social media hiker content maker known for her exploits with hula hoops while on mountain summits. So Stomp is honored to be joined by her this week to discuss her background, and we'll learn about the history of hula hooping and find out what made Jeezlouise pick up this unique hobby. Plus, we've got animal attack news. We've got Full Conditions is returning this fall. We're going to do a segment about fall foliage hiking, so you can plan as a hiker or a tourist. And we want everyone to get ready for leaf peeping. We've got recent hikes on I did the Watcher with a crew, and then Stomp could have joined me, but chose to not join me so that he could go off with. Who did you go with?
Knobbie.
Oh, you went with Knobbie. All right. So you went off with Knobbie on your
Knox.
own little adventure with on Skookumchuck. Oh, you had the dog with you.
Right.
All right. The dog's not gonna want to do the Watcher. I don't think.
Yeah, I'll touch upon that.
Okay, and then notable hikes and recent search and rescue news. We got a whole bunch of recent search and rescue news this week, so we'll get into that. I'm Mike, the gum guy,
and I'm Stomp. Let's get started.
This is Ben Pease from Hiking Buddies. We are a 501c3 nonprofit committed to reducing avoidable tragedies through education, impactful projects, and fostering a community of support. You can find out more at hikingbuddies.org. We wanted to say thank you to those who have supported our mission, and most importantly, say thanks to those who speak up, who ask questions, and who are willing to provide guidance and assistance on the trails when needed. You embody what it means to be a hiking buddy. And now, for all my newer hikers out there, here's this episode's Hiking Buddies Quick Tip.
Consider training through buddy certifications and other instructional and experiential courses. You don't know what you don't know. There are many accredited training schools in and around New Hampshire. Our partners at Redline Guiding in Intervale, New Hampshire is a great place to start.
Hi, Christina with White Mountain Endurance Coaching. And I wanted to let you know that not only do I coach endurance athletes, I also coach hikers and mountaineers. I have plenty of experience in the White Mountains and would love to teach you how to start out, whether you're a beginner, if you're more advanced, give you some more skills to transition from hiking to trail running, and most of all, teach you how to move safely in the mountains. So whatever your goals are, whatever your experience is, reach out, coaching.christinapulsick.com. I'd love to help you.
All right, Stomp, what do you think?
That was great. Great tips.
Yes. Do you feel safer?
I do. Oh, those tips are awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
And I hear from Christina that listeners have been signing up for her programs, and that is fantastic. She's probably one of the best in the region.
Yeah, I've been peeping her on social media, and she's been doing she's been posting some cool photos.
Yeah. So thanks to the listeners for signing up for Christina's awesome training and coaching.
Very good, Stomp. So we're a little light on the articles this week just because we've been running long and we didn't go too crazy. So anyway, the first one we have here, we're always paying attention to whenever animals attack humans. We're very interested in that, Stomp.
Oh yeah, I'm just thankful it doesn't happen around here.
Yeah, it's become our thing a little bit, right?
Oh, we love it, especially when little kids are involved.
Right. Yep. So especially by the time they're 5 years old, they start getting expensive. So it's not not a bad thing to see them getting smacked with reality, I guess, is the way to say that, right? Am I going to get... I think I'm going to get canceled for this.
Where are you going with this?
I don't know. I'm going to get canceled. I apologize. So, no, seriously, a 5-year-old boy was attacked by a mountain lion. So this is horrifying in all seriousness. 5-year-old attacked by a mountain lion during a Labor Day family outing to Malibu Creek State Park near Los Angeles. So multiple witnesses saw this attack. Family's Labor Day picnic turned into a terrifying ordeal when a mountain lion attacked a 5-year-old and tried to drag him into the woods. Brazen attack unfolded at like 4:30 local time, about 30 miles northwest of downtown LA, and left the child with significant but non-life-threatening injuries, according to a statement from California Department of Fish and Wildlife. So 6 adults, a few kids are hanging out having a picnic. Kids are running off, and then like out of nowhere, a mountain lion comes and apparently attacked the boy, started to try to drag the boy into the woods here. And so the kid suffered bite and scratch wounds and was airlifted to Northridge Medical Center where he was treated. Yeah. I guess he's released now. So they were just playing around the family picnic table when the mountain lion attacked. So a couple of the adults did charge at the lion, and it luckily got scared and released the boy. So I think that's the takeaway here is if somebody is attacked, especially a little kid, I mean, you just got to go all out because you can't let the mountain lion get away with the kid.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So the cat was casing the place. It climbed up a tree and was casing the place, and ultimately they had to euthanize the animal. They shot it. And this comes on the heels of another 21-year-old that was killed by a cougar and his 18-year-old in May. So it's pretty odd. So it's the first fatal mountain lion attack in the state in 20 years.
Crazy. So,
it's weird stuff going on out there. But again, thankfully, we don't have to really worry about things like that out here.
Yeah. Well, I had a run-in with a wild animal this morning, Stomp.
Yeah? What kind of animal?
A raccoon.
Oh, while you were running?
I was trail running on Whittier Hill in Amesbury, my morning run. Yeah. And raccoon walked right out in front of me, and I think that I scared the crap out of him, and he scared the crap out of me. He ran right up a tree, and then he froze, and I froze.
Raccoons can be vicious.
They can.
Oh, yeah.
They can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I got a photo of the little guy. You can kind of see through the wind. It's not really.
Okay. I got it. Yeah, I see him. Yeah, on the side there.
Yeah. He didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to do. So we just stood there, and I took a picture of him.
I don't know. This running thing sounds like it's starting to get dangerous, Mike. I don't know.
I feel like it's more dangerous to not run.
You think?
In the
You have
long
to
term.
weigh the pros and cons.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to get step on a raccoon, then I guess I'll take the chance to hopefully prolong my life.
Yeah.
All right, Stomp. So the next article here, I got this sent over to me by a couple of people, and then I think you sent it to me as well. So this is an article. New Hampshire Fish and Game says more state funding is needed. So income from hunting and fishing licenses may not be enough to allow the New Hampshire Fish and Game to continue with all the services it provides. Now it's asking state lawmakers to fill the gap. So 25% of the agency's $35 million budget comes from sales of the hunting and fishing licenses, with another 24% coming from federal funds and about 2% comes from the state's general fund. Wait a minute here. So 25%, 24%, and then that's 51% Stomp. Where's the rest of the money come from?
Yeah, interesting.
They got to jack up the fines for those lost hikers, I guess. But anyway.
It's expensive.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so with the license sales falling,
like safeguards.
Yeah, well, that's a way that we can help. But with the license sales falling and costs for everything from equipment to personnel rising, something more reliable is needed, or else the money could run out by this time next year. So Colonel Kevin Jordan is interviewed in this. He's basically said, we just feel we've reached a point financially where we need more support, and we need it across the state. So Fish and Game's duties include land conservation, running the state's dive team, providing outdoor workshops and education, and handling search and rescue missions. So those missions can run between $1,500 and $10,000 or higher. The Fish and Game operates over 140 boat ramps and 105 dams across the state. So there's a bipartisan commission at the State House that's working on ways to modernize funding. And I think most lawmakers agree that the system's broken and they can't do their job without an increase in support. So keep an eye on that. I think in the near term, you can help out by buying a Hike Safe card. I know it's controversial and some people like it's not insurance, whatever. It does go to fund Fish and Game. So if you want to help out, I think eventually the direction this is going to go in is I don't know long term whether or not funding can continue to be borne all by hunting and fishing licenses. I think that this hiking's got to figure out a way to generate more revenue from hikers.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hunters and fishermen are not happy about that arrangement. They never have been.
Yep.
It's been ongoing.
I'm happy. I'm happy to free ride.
Oh, boy.
But I get it. I get their point. It's like, we do our part and you should do your part. And they see these search and rescue missions and they think like, look, there's another $5,000 out the window. There's another $10,000 out the window that is being funded by us.
Right.
So anyway, so keep an eye on that, Stomp. And then next up, you pulled an article. I'm always interested in this, so people may not be aware of this, but from obviously World War II, it's controversial, but we did drop 2 bombs in Japan, and what that people understand that sort of ended World War II, but I don't think that they realize that began an arms race between the U.S. and Russia, where for many years, probably somewhere around 10 to 15 years, there was a period where there was Pacific islands that were bombed, and there was also desert locations in Nevada and Arizona and Utah that were also test sites for nuclear weapons there. So Stomp pulled this article that is from The Guardian that indicates that plutonium levels.
What was that?
I don't know. I can't say plutonium. Plutonium.
Learn something new every day about your.
You did that on purpose. Plutonium levels near U.S. atomic site in Los Alamos, similar to Chernobyl level study finds. So much of the land near the atomic bomb's birthplace was converted to recreational areas, but toxic waste. All right, so this isn't even the test sites. This is just Los Alamos, where they had to bury a lot of the spent fuel for the nuclear atomic bomb program. So there's just a lot of it still out there, and it's hiding in plain sight, apparently. So if you go out there with a Geiger counter, you can get some big hits, I guess.
It's unbelievable. So this is near several popular recreational spots. And they're finding extreme concentrations. And apparently the U.S. Department of Defense recently said it's going to ramp up production of plutonium pits. But apparently local health advocates aren't quite happy about it, as they did not include Los Alamos in the planning. So let's go hiking.
Apparently
let's go hiking
they call the area near Los Alamos Acid Canyon. It has so much, it's so saturated with toxic waste that it's dangerous, but a lot of hikers and trail runners and bikers go out there. So something to be aware of, I guess.
I wonder if there's signage out there or anything. Do people even know that that's a risk? Well, the article doesn't go into that, really.
Well, the article says that by the 1980s, they did bring the area into compliance with federal cleanup standards so that it's safe to use. That's what the government claims. So I would imagine that there has to be some signage out there.
Oh, man. Look, I just caught this paragraph. Look at public health advocates called for the government to post signage warning visitors so they can make an informed decision about using a trail contaminated with toxic waste. I find that so appalling. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
There isn't even signage? Wow. Crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah. Would you go out there to just check it out?
Hell no. Hell no.
Really?
No, I'm not messing around with that. No way. Radiation's brutal. Phew.
Okay.
Scary stuff.
All right. Do you know that there is an uninhabited island off of Massachusetts that is a wildlife refuge now, but it's called NoMans Land, Massachusetts, and it's like a mini version of Martha's Vineyard, and from 1943 to 1996, the island served as a bombing range for the U.S. Navy. So it's littered with unexploded explosive ordnances that have rendered it closed to the public. So it's like south of Martha's Vineyard. It actually looks kind of cool. It's got like a nice beaches and stuff, and it's got some ponds and stuff on the inside of it. But apparently they use this as a target practice for bombers so that they could like line up their bombing runs and drop bombs, and they've been using it for like years and years and years as practice. And now it's you're not allowed to go in there because there's so many unexploded ordnances in there.
And it's a bird refuge?
Yeah, apparently they call it a wildlife refuge now. It's called NoMans Land, Massachusetts.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I had not heard.
Yeah, it's right off of Martha's Vineyard. So now you know.
Yeah. And I would imagine that that's got plenty of signage.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
We'd be hearing about it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
I'm sure we'd be hearing about it in local Northeast news if people were blowing up visiting a bird refuge.
Yeah, I'll have to, I'll put this in the show notes. I'm going to put a little note here. Massachusetts, and I'll add this to the show notes, Stomp, and now you learn something new.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought I was the biggest masshole, but I guess not, if I don't know that.
Yeah, that is No Man's Land.
No Man's Land. It's like a World War I reference.
Yes, it is. So,
wow.
All right, Stomp. So next up, we've got an update. So we've taken another turn of the Earth here, and we've got it seems like the fall is coming as faster than we realize, but we've got full conditions is returning. So what's the story here? So this is going to involve like brewing beer, doing a live show, figuring out dates. What do we got going on?
Yeah, so this is a developing story. So last year, listeners may remember that Reklis hosted an event with Mike and I and Ty Gagney and others, and it was to celebrate the release of their Full Conditions brew, which was a collaboration between Ty and Reklis to benefit the New Hampshire Outdoor Council. And we weren't sure if it was going to happen again, but there's moves to make it happen again, and apparently we will be joining them sometime late October to join them in the brewing process itself. And they're planning on having a live show sometime around mid-November. The date isn't 100% locked down, but it could be potentially the 16th or the 17th. But we will keep you posted because that was a really nice time. And obviously it's a great cause to support the Outdoor Council, which, as people may not know, if you're a new listener, that is an umbrella agency. It's a nonprofit that provides grants to search and rescue teams here in the state. So they're vital in the funding of all the activities that go on with search and rescue.
All right, so I'll work on my stand-up comedy routine there. Maybe we get Ken back to do a bit.
He was a hit.
Oh, my God, he was funny.
Oh, yeah.
And then, Stomp, with this brewing beer situation, do we need to wear aprons? Do we need to wear a hairnet? You have to wear a beard net?
I'm hearing from Steve, Reklis Steve, the one of the main brewers there, that we should be wearing some waterproof boots, some pants, for sure. I was thinking of wearing my mucks, that waterproof boots that go up to your knees.
Okay.
And I don't have to worry about a hairnet. I don't think you do either.
I'm just happy you're going to wear pants, Stomp. I'm just happy that you got pants.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, boy. Maybe we should sneak in some secret ingredients when nobody's looking. What would you add if nobody was looking?
I would add pistachio nuts. I have pistachio nuts right in front of me here. So,
pistachio nuts.
I've thought about that. I thought about that question deeply, Stomp, and I had an answer ready immediately.
I think Steve will pick it up. He'll taste it and be like, oh, something's wrong with the batch.
Nothing's ever wrong with pistachios.
Yeah.
All right, Stomp, and then you had here in the notes that we wanted to give a shout out to the Mount Washington Weather Observatory here.
Yeah. As people know, they invited us out to do a live show at the Seek the Peak event at Tuckerman Brewery this summer, which is their largest fundraising event for the observatory. And they were kind enough to send us a box with some cool patches and stickers and whatnot, and a kind note. So we just wanted to say to the crew at the OBS, thank you very much. It was really nice. Ellen, Charlie, Wendy, and the whole the forecasters, everybody. We had a really nice time as well, and we hope to make it next year as well, depending on our schedules, of course. But if we can make it work, we'll definitely be there. That was so much fun. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We all know that hiking a mountain can be hard at times. So here's a corny dad joke to help you get over it.
Stomp, this is the part of the show where we do a dad joke.
Oh, another one.
Yes.
Haven't you run out by now?
No, 365 days. So thanks to my friends Camilla and Lance.
What happens when the book is done?
I feel like I've already repeated some by mistake, so I'm just going to keep going. So, Stomp, why did Tinkerbell get made fun of at school?
I have no idea.
She Peter Pans.
That's a good one. I like that. Right? That's a clever play on words.
Right? She Peter Pans. So it could either be Peter Pants or Peter Pan. Get it? Right. It could be either or. You don't know.
Yep. Only the smartest among us can figure that one out.
Yeah. I'm on fire over here, Stomp.
Play on words.
Yep.
You're on fire?
I'm on fire.
Damn, you need a Vaucluse gear backpack ventilation frame then, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's a good point, Stomp.
Yeah, so if your back is on fire like Mike's, you may need one. So as you know, sweat can be extremely uncomfortable on the trails. Plus, sweat is a serious risk factor in both hot and cold climates. As your clothes get wet, your core temperature can dramatically fluctuate, and this can result in hypothermia, heat exhaustion, and dehydration. And let's not forget, it's just very uncomfortable. Today's your lucky day because we have good news for you here at SLASR. there's a piece of gear that solves the sweat and ventilation problem, making your backpack more comfortable. Vaucluse Gear's ultralight backpack ventilation frame. It's an ultralight backpack accessory that easily installs in your favorite pack, sizes 15 liters to 45 liters, and creates a ventilating airflow gap between you and your pack. It's also ultralight, weighing around 3 ounces. That's equivalent to a pair of wool socks. I wonder how much a hula hoop weighs. We shall find out, I guess. So whether hiking in hot or cold temps, the ultralight backpack ventilation frame from Vaucluse Gear is a real game changer regarding airflow and ventilation. So visit them at voclusegear.com to order an ultralight ventilation frame today and use the code SLASR, SLASR, to enjoy a $5 discount, and let them know that Mike and Stomp sent you. All right, cool. So, hey, if anybody wants free stickers, they're still available at Ski Fanatics here at Exit 28 in Campton, or down in Massachusetts in Andover at Spinner's Pizza Parlor. And I just want to give a shout out to Spinner's because they are celebrating their 30th anniversary this October 2024. So, yeah, congratulations to Dolls and Pops. So spin by and grab a sticker and say hi and congratulate them on 30 years of making some of the best pizza in the area. It's really cool. Dolls and Pops. You can also advertise with Slasher. Just shoot us an email or a direct message and we can chat. And people are buying the swag again. The Slasher Bonfire sweatshirts are moving fast because it's certainly gotten a lot colder really quick.
It's hoodie season, Stomp.
Yeah, it sure is. So the hoodies that we're selling up on the Bonfire shop are really beautiful. There are also classic V-necks and different styles of T-shirts. So check it out and represent Slasher today. And then we also have a quick sponsor here from CS Coffee. This is another great option for the cooler weather. I know people are still backpacking out there, and CS makes some killer coffee. The podcast is supported by CS Instant Coffee, makers of eco-friendly instant coffee. It's perfect for anyone who loves the outdoors as much as we do. It's great for backpacking, day hiking, camping, and even at home. So learn more and get in touch at csinstant.coffee on the web, or email them at info@csinstant.coffee. Cool.
Very good, Stomp. So this is the part of the show where we talk about what beer we are drinking.
Yeah. What you got? Anything?
I have my Last Friendly Neighbor one.
Oh,
so I've been drinking
nice.
I've had these in the fridge, and I think probably for about 2 months now. This is my Last Friendly Neighbor. And I mostly friendly neighbors, except for one neighbor that I'm not friends with, and I don't like them. But
hope they don't listen to the podcast.
I hope they do, and that they hear me say I don't like them. But anyway, one of these days, Stomp, when me and you go hike, I got to tell you the whole story. But
okay, maybe you should send them a 6-pack of that beer and say, hey, let's just let bygones be bygones. It's the holiday season almost.
An olive branch.
Yes, a peace token.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, so Stomp, what are you drinking?
Oh man, I'm just hooked on these Stormalongs. Stormalong Legendary Dry, super dry, out of Leominster, and I believe they have a brewer satellite in Vermont as well. But it's hard cider and it's super dry, made of heirloom apples, bittersweet apples, tannic, crisp, and complex.
Complex, huh?
It's a complex apple.
Well, I prefer my beer simple.
Tell you.
All right, Stomp, this is the part of the show where we talk about recent hikes. So why don't you go first?
Sure. I will say that I bailed on you, and I had good reason. I did get beat up pretty bad on a recent mission, so forgive me.
It's okay, Stomp. I had a strong crew, and you would have brought them down.
For sure. A funny story though on that mission. Like, I don't know if I told you this, but about 2 months ago I had dislocated my wrist. Did I ever mention that?
I don't remember. I don't recall.
I was screwing in screws into the hardwood window frames here at the condo, and one of my carpal bones dislocated. So for the last 2 months I've had limited motion, and on this carry I was carrying, holding on to the litter, and I heard a giant pop, so it actually reduced it reduced back in place, and I have full motion now, but it's still like, on a scale of 1 to 10 being 10 being the worst pain, it's probably like a 3 still. So over the weekend, it was just killing, but my motion's back.
Oh, that's good. That's good. But you need to, you shouldn't be manually doing a screwdriver at this point. Like, you just got to get a power drill.
No kidding. Yeah, I know. I overdid it. I did I think at the time I did about maybe 15 screws.
Oh, yeah. There's zero need for you to do that.
I know. I just got lazy. I'm like, I don't want to go downstairs and dig out the drill. So, bad mistake.
Yep.
Gee whiz.
You're not a spring chicken anymore, Stomp. You can't be doing that stuff.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that when it comes to screwing yourself up when you're just screwing in a screw.
Well, thank you for that person to get injured and that fixed your wrist. So that was
there you go. But so the big hike of the week for me was Skook.
Stomp was talking about the Skookumchuck Trail, which is slightly north of Franconia Ridge. You take basically Route 3, and then it's the first trailhead right there.
Yeah, that's right. We had a huge list of different hikes to do, and we were so undecided. We literally didn't decide until that morning at the parking lot of the Mad River Coffee Shop. So we opted to go to Skookumchuck, and our plan was to hit the summit of Lafayette and then come down Greenleaf, because I don't believe Knobbie had ever done Greenleaf Trail, which, as you know from the Greenleaf Hut, you can either go left down Old Bridle Path or right down the Greenleaf Trail back to the tram of Cannon. So that was the plan. It was a nice day. The birch glades were beautiful. Skookumchuck is about 4 miles, 4.1 miles or so. Yeah,
I've never done it.
And you've never done it?
No, I need to.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. It's just long and sprawling, but at about, say, 3,800 feet, 3,900 feet, it becomes a birch glade. So it's all beautiful birch. And you come up on a false peak that actually gives you a vantage of Lafayette.
Yeah, that's North Lafayette, right?
Yes. Then you skirt left, and then you come up to the junction of Garfield Ridge Trail and Skookumchuck, and you bear right, and you head towards the summit. So it was a real nice day. We had to gear up. We had to put on the puffy, the Gore-Tex, gloves, hats, because the wind chill, it had to be low 40s.
And then you had the dog with you. So Knobbie has it's not a black lab. It's like
somewhere in that family.
It's like a heavier black lab type of dog. Knox is probably 70 pounds, I'd say.
70 or 80.
Yeah, 70 or 80 pounds. So big dog, but good dog. Yeah. I mean, great to hike with. Stays beautiful right with knobs the whole time. So, did you have to put the vest on Knox as well?
Knox had the vest, and it's really interesting. Knox is really smart about it. He will assess different, little channels between rocks and look at them and go, I can't do it. I've got my vest on, and go around.
Yeah, Knox is definitely smarter than Knobbie. There's no question about it.
Yeah. So it was a good time. But here's the kicker. Knobbie was filming to make a video. And,
great.
So we take a right, we're heading up, and we're about 0.1, maybe 0.2 up. The primary false peak that's probably 200 feet high. I see a young woman coming down, and I couldn't really make out any detail until she got within about 50 yards or so. And the second I could make out how she was dressed and what she was carrying, I knew immediately that she had taken the wrong turn. She comes up to me, and without hesitation, I just said, "Where are you going?" in a nice way. And she said, "I'm going to..."
Yeah, because I was going to say, that was kind of mean, Stomp. I would have been like, who you?
Yeah. That's always the debate. That's a common debate. Like, do you talk to people? Do you not?
Yeah.
So she said she was going to Greenleaf Hut. And I said, "No, you're not."
Yeah, turn around.
No, you're not. And then I explained to her what happened, how it's common. She was a young woman from Maryland. She was in her 20s. She was really nice, just a sweetheart. But she had no warm clothes. She had a satchel that was a purse, essentially, no backpack. She had done the loop. She went up Falling Waters, got to the summit, and then made that mistake. That happens a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So ultimately what happens, you get down to Skook, and you're like, where am I? What's happening here? And if ultimately the police will pick you up when you're down at the bottom of Skook, but if you go into Garfield Ridge Trail unprepared like that could have been bad. So she joined us back to the summit, and I redirected her back down to the hut. But just be careful. Just know where you're going. Have a map. Make sure you know where you're going. And it's funny. She actually said that at one point she was looking down at near the summit because it was so windy. She didn't want to lose her hat. And that may very well have been the moment where she just went right by the summit sign where it pointed down.
What day was this? Was this on Sunday?
This was Sunday, the next day after you guys did Watcher.
So that would be Monday, because I think we went on Sunday, so it would have been Monday. So
correct.
Were there
Correct,
views?
Yep.
Was
it wasn't bad, but it was when we were coming down Greenleaf from the summit, it started raining.
Okay.
And you could see the Kinsman's completely covered in rain. We were fortunate enough that we missed the bulk of the storm that came through. And then, by the time we got down to Eagle Notch, we decided against it, and I explained to Knobbie, listen, the ascent up to Eagle Cliff from here is not going to be cool for Knox at all. And descending from the Watcher, I'm not too uptight about it, but for a dog, nah. So I suggested we'll just tackle it another time and do it, clockwise.
Yep.
So it was a good time.
That's great. And Knox is a great dog to hike with. He's really, really well behaved, sticks with you.
Oh, yeah.
Knobbie's done such a good job training him, so it's a joy to go hiking with them.
Oh, phenomenal. He's a sweet dog.
Yeah, I'll look forward to the video when he puts it out.
Yeah. So tell us about the Watcher.
So, so I was trying to decide what to do. I think originally I was thinking like we would hit one of the 4,000 footers for my daughter, and she wanted to go hiking with her boyfriend. I was up in Maine for the weekend, and I got pinged by Camilla and Lance, and they were like, we want to do the Watcher, because they had tried to do it a couple of weeks before and they couldn't figure out the trail. And I was like, yeah, look, my recommendation, if anybody wants to do this hike, they should go with someone that's done it previously, just because it's not a hike that you want to mess around with. There's some nuances to it around like whether to go up the right or the left slide, and it's not exactly it's not an established trail, so you want to go with someone that knows what they're doing and has been there. So I was like, I'm happy to go up with you. So I had my daughter and her boyfriend, and I don't know if Devin loves doing the death marches. He'll do them, and he's done the Kinsmans and a bunch of other stuff, but I think he prefers the shorter hikes. And then my friend Jay, who you had hiked with when we did Welsh Dickey, he joined us too, and he's another one that I don't think he would have loved doing the death march. So we were originally, I was going to go up the Watcher, go Eagle Pass, and then go up Greenleaf to Lafayette. And we just completely, I met Camilla and Lance in the parking lot, and I told him, I was like, let's just do the Watcher and take our time. And she was like, that's perfect, because she didn't want to do anything too crazy. So I think the total hike is 4 miles. And so you park at Cannon. So there was Lance, Camilla, Caroline, Devin, and then my friend Jay. So there was 6 of us, which is a good number. Anything more than that, I wouldn't have loved. But, you're in the Cannon parking lot. We met up, no problem. Get on Greenleaf Trail, and then you're on Greenleaf for about a half a mile, and then you can see the cairn that marks the Climbers Trail. So we go up, and the coolest thing ever was that there was 2 climbers on the Eaglet.
Okay.
Yeah, which was awesome. So once we got up to the Eaglet, which is this spire, like, I don't know, Stomp, how would you describe it?
Maybe 600 foot, maybe less, 500 foot tall spire, and it's the only spire east of the Mississippi or some data like that. It's very interesting. It's awesome. You can't really see it unless you're paying attention, because it sort of settles into the Eagle Cliff itself as you're driving north through the notch. You have to really pay attention as you're driving through.
Yeah, it's so cool. But the coolest thing about the whole thing is, so there's 2 guys up there, or 2 girls. I wasn't sure. I took a bunch of pictures, and then I posted them on the Instagram, and then one of the climbers, Seth Allman, who we're connected on Instagram, he was like, hey, that's me. So I was able to connect with who the climber was. So I thought that was really cool. So shout out to Seth and his friends. So Seth has a really cool Instagram page and does a lot of cool stuff like climbing and hiking and stuff. So he seems like an awesome dude. So I'll shout out to him that he was out there. But so it was cool. So we get up. And, the watcher is a little bit tricky, so you have to kind of go one at a time in the scree fields to approach it. And then, it maybe took about an hour. We did see another group. There was like 2 dads and like 4 boys that were coming down. So they had gone up and they had just climbed down the same direction, which I've never climbed down that direction. I always go out through Eagle Pass or Eagle Cliff, whatever it is. But yeah, we get up there and Camilla's like, she does a bunch of videos and she's like got us... we took our time. We were up there for like maybe an hour. The same time when me and you and Nick and that crew went up, like we took our time. It was the same type of deal. We just took a bunch of photos. We had lunch and really casual. So it was a good time. Camilla had us doing those like slow motion jumps in the air so we could get the pictures and stuff. And I was like, oh boy.
I need to see some of those.
I hate that stuff, but I was a good trooper. I was all right.
Tag us, Camilla.
Do it for my friend. And then we went out Eagle.
Mike jumping reels.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you so you can see. But then we went, went out across Eagle Cliff, and that was cool. It was sort of a casual hike.
I love that.
Yeah, it was
that herd path is so cool.
Oh, it's so cool, and it's like so mossy and ancient. It's really nice. And we got to the can, and we put our names on there and our Instagram handles and stuff. So, And then
wait a minute. So the register's back?
It's back. Yeah, somebody put a can up there now.
Interesting, because that place always gets devastated through the winter.
Yeah.
That's probably the third register in my time hiking over the last 7-8 years.
Yeah. And what we're talking about for the listeners is if you do off-trail stuff, like you get to a summit, there are these like PVC canisters that have like a screw in the bottom of them. So you unscrew the bottom, and then inside of it will be like a plastic bag with a notepad, and then you can put your name on there and the date that you hiked it. So there was a bunch of names on there. So it's definitely getting some traffic.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it was good. And then we hiked out to Greenleaf, and I got to tell you something. I haven't been on Skookumchuck, but I'm assuming it's probably the same vibe because, like I always say, the on the Pemi Loop, like that section between North Lafayette and Garfield Pond is like the coolest, mossiest like trail system. It's like so green and the rocks are all covered with moss. Greenleaf Trail's the same way. As you get to that lower portion and you connect back to Greenleaf Trail, there's so many cool like mossy sections, and even when you get back on trail, as you hike back out, like it's just a beautiful trail section. And I think it's just, maybe it doesn't get as much credit, but I just think it's just beautiful.
So you're talking about the boulder field and the caves and the notch itself when you're down
that
from
part, but
Eagle Cliff?
even as you pass like where the old like that like homeless camp, and you come down, and then you're the lower section there. It's all mossy and cool back there.
Right. Knobbie and I explored those caves a little bit in the notch, and it's pretty awesome. There's some scary deep caves in that area.
Yeah.
It's not unusual to actually see snow and lingering, not snow, but lingering ice deep in some of these holes. Yeah. You can feel the temperature change when you get through the notch. And just another interesting point about that cliff wall, when you get back to Eagle Notch, that cliff wall is one of the most active geological formations in the area, according to some geologists that I'm familiar with. So when you walk through that little pass right there, that 50 yards, move quick.
Yeah.
It's an interesting spot.
Very good, Stomp. So we've both been getting around, so that's good stuff. And I won't be getting out next weekend, but I will. I think the weekend after that I'll be getting out. So I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah. I'm going to get out for Dave's thing. Dave's trying to finish his 100 highest, and he's finishing on the captain, so he invited me out to that. And we're planning like an overnight, maybe 2. to really just celebrate and enjoy it. But thanks to Grandma Stomp and Grandpa Stomp, they found me as you know, Sawyer River Road is closed, so we have to bike up that. So they found a bike wagon for $30 on Facebook Marketplace. So I'm gonna throw the packs in that, the tent, and try to bike up with Knobbie and whoever else is going to be going on that trip. So that'll be a nice time. Hopefully the weather will work out. You never know at this time of year.
Yeah. So also it's going to be you, Knobbie, and Dave?
So far, yep. Oh. And Liz.
Oh, and Liz too. Okay.
Right.
Oh,
so he's going to head up early Friday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Set up camp. I'm going to head up Friday afternoon, Friday night, get to camp, and then we'll hike it Saturday and then camp out.
Damn, I wish I could join you, but I got to travel again. I got a lot of traveling going on the next 4 months.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, whatever,
Yeah.
Anyway,
all right,
but
cool.
Now is the part of the show where we do notable listener hike of the week here, Stomp.
Yeah, so tag Slasher on your adventure to be considered for Slasher's hike of the week. No guarantees you'll be plugged on the show, but tag us and we will do our best to mention your adventure. So this week we have J. Clapcow, J.K. Lapcow, or J.K. Clapcow, who completed the Harriman Beer All Trails Challenge, 400 miles to complete. And I think this is a question for Stosh from the ITL Catskills podcast, because this is a region in the Catskills that apparently has just a huge amount of trails.
Oh, yeah.
So we have the link and you can check it out. But congrats on that. Looks like a monstrous adventure.
So this is sort of like, I guess this is probably maybe their equivalent to our like guidebook or something. But wow, that's impressive.
It looks similar. Yeah, for sure. That link goes on and on and on and on. And it is connected to the AT through several portions of this Harriman Beer region. I sound like I know what I'm talking about, right?
It sounds good to me. Just flow with it.
All right. Next, we have KK48 Peaks, who finished number 32 and 33 out of the 48 4,000 footers in New Hampshire. And I couldn't quite tell, but it looked like it was Monroe looking down on the Lake of the Clouds Hut and Agiakachuk, Mount Washington. LB Boyd was over in Alberta, Canada, and was on the Grassy Lake Trail. Beautiful pictures.
Oh, I'm looking at these right now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, the color
Absolutely
of the water
beautiful.
and like it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Steve Summits and L.A. Tupper were in your neck of the woods, Mike, doing the 4-mile burnt metal loop in Brownfield.
Steve knows what's up.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yep.
Dave Shits in the Woods tackled Mount Huntington and Huntington South for 102 and 103 out of the 104, leaving only the captain. Let's see. Paul Gamel Jr. did a clockwise Pemi loop in 13 hours, listening to Pud's podcast, and then towards the end, he knew what he needed to get to the end. He turned on the old Stomp latest DJ mix.
Paul's been on fire lately. I think
he's cruising too. That's a fast time.
I think he did some. He didn't know. I think he did the Carters. He was. I think he posted he was like feeling the pain on the Carters recently. So I get it. I'd rather do the Pemi loop than the Carters.
Yeah, all I got to say to Paul is he didn't do it with a pool noodle, so not too impressed.
Okay. Next time.
All right. So SS Skinner 519 did 7 presidentials for September grid. Madison all the way to Pierce. That's pretty killer. Coco Gorm is over in Iceland, sloshing around Skogofoss Waterfall. Another beautiful spot.
I've been there.
You have?
Oh, yeah. That's a beautiful, beautiful waterfall. You can walk behind that one.
Oh, so how tall is this thing?
It is like, I would say it's probably about 250 feet, maybe. Maybe 200 feet, but it's wide. That's the thing. It's impressive. It's like super wide, and there's like a permanent rainbow on the thing, and then you can walk behind it. Thing is, Skogofoss, it's cool. It's a very touristy. Like there's a ton of tourists there, but you have to go. And when you're driving to the south, you can just it stands out like crazy. So it's a great area there.
Yeah, it's super cool. And last but not least, Fit to Hike 603 completed the 67 4,000-foot peaks of New England on Mount Katahdin. So congratulations.
Okay, so...
Do we have a winner?
Oh, God. So I guess Burnt Meadow is that's my home. All right, so here we go. Obviously, Fit to Hike 603 is going to win because she finished her 67. It's a she, right? I think it is.
Well, in the pictures, yes, I believe so.
So, Jonna, you win, but I think J.K. Lapcow, who completed the Harriman 400-mile, they win too, but maybe they don't win as much. They win a little less than... then Steve Summits, because Burnt Meadow, I got to give a shout out, they win too, but not as much as the other two.
Excellent.
So
the wise man distributes justice evenly.
Right? All right. So congratulations to everybody. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, good work.
Excellent. All right, Stomp. So this is, so we're going to go into the segment here. You got a chance to sit down and talk with Jeezlouise. So let's go into that, and then we'll come back out on the other side. And we're going to talk about fall foliage.
All right, hula hoop, here we come.
It's time for Slasher's Guest of the Week. Very cool, very cool.
All right, so we are rolling. Welcome, Amy Lee, to the Woodpeckers studio in the great town of Thornton, New Hampshire. Welcome aboard. Thank you for coming over. This is so cool.
Thanks for having me.
So as you know, Mike couldn't make it. He's getting his gums chomped up. So
I hope it goes well.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Well, I hope it doesn't go well. I hope he looks like Flavor Flav after, or who else? Who maybe Tom? He'll probably come out looking like Tom Cruise or something like that, knowing him. But so Amy, we gave the listeners sort of a prep as to what you're all about, and you go under the name of Jeezlouisehoops.
I do.
Which is super cool. And just to give a quick rundown for the listeners, several months ago, just beating the YouTube algorithm to death, watching all kinds of weird stuff, your channel popped up on my YouTube feed out of the blue. And there's all kinds of random stuff up on my feed anyway, you name it. It's sort of bizarre. You wouldn't want to see it. You'd be very uncomfortable. But yours popped up. And so I started following you ever since, and tried to reach out to you several times. And ultimately we connected somehow over the last month or two via Instagram and whatnot. But we're really glad to have you here. So your shtick is what? What are you doing out there in the mountains?
Oh, wow. That is a big question. Okay. So I'm just hiking. I don't know. I turned 50 this year, and I have just been trying to do new things. Let's see. I'd have to back up and say that I quit drinking in 2020, and I quit nicotine.
Uh-huh.
And so at that point, I kind of needed to find something to do with myself because I had all sorts of time and energy. Yeah. And so I got into Pilates first, which was kind of random. I did 1,000 consecutive days of Pilates.
Oh my goodness.
To go along with my first 1,000 days of not drinking.
Yeah.
From there, I got into snowshoeing and did like 80 consecutive days of that. And then when that stopped, when the snow melted, rather, I got sad and didn't know what to do. And my friend said, take your snowshoes off and go hiking.
Okay.
And so I've been doing that.
So you're not a hiker. You're not like a long-term hiker.
No, I am very different than most of your guests, I'd say, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Like, I was not an outdoorsy child. My parents were into boats, so I liked swimming and fishing and that kind of thing. But I wasn't hiking. Like, going outside was like when my mom was like, go outside and lock the door because she needed us to go out. But I don't know. Mostly I just, I spent a lot of time swimming and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I got into like ballet and gymnastics and tap dancing when I was younger. So like anything kind of performance-y.
So was there like a moment that precipitated all this? That precipitated this change in your life?
Oh, so many.
So many.
I mean, like, so growing up, I didn't really follow a traditional path, and I graduated early from Mount Mansfield, which is where I went to high school.
Yep.
And I went on to UVM, and I spent 2.5 years there until I realized like I was way more interested in the band Fish and boys. And so I withdrew from school and went to a lot of concerts and became a waitress. And I mean, through the years, I had kids, I got married. So my dad, who lived in New Hampshire in his later years, which, I mean, that makes him sound really old. He was 60 when he passed away. Like, my dad got sick and I started drinking even more. And I was going to New Hampshire every weekend to visit him.
Okay, so he was a New Hampshire guy.
Yeah, he lived in Hebron. And so I'd go to visit him, and I was just kind of drinking, trying to drink my problems away. And he passed away in 2011. And then right after that, I had been in a kind of bad relationship that finally ended. And I guess I was kind of just like looking to recreate myself or do something.
Yeah.
I guess in 2020 reached maybe it was the pandemic that scared me straight, but it finally was enough time for me to get my shit together and stop drinking, and I stopped smoking. And so that's what led me to like kind of change my direction and get into exercise.
Wow. Okay. I was just talking to somebody recently who quit smoking and gained a boatload of weight. Did you experience that, or was that the whole effort with the hiking and everything else?
So I quit smoking first, which most people quit alcohol first.
Yeah.
But I just like, if most people do it this way, I want to do it that way. And I also knew that nicotine was going to be a real bitch for me. So
how long had you smoked?
Since I was stealing cigarettes out of the ashtray of my mom's ashtray. A long time. And so I quit those things, and I don't know, also the pandemic was going on, and that was just like such a mind. That's just like, that was really hard to deal with. And so I don't know, I guess like we took to hiking. What else was there to do? We were supposed to stay away from people, and like
the entire world did, it seemed.
Yeah. And we live in a pretty gorgeous place. We live in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, which is like, there's Jay Peak and Bear Mountain. And
oh my goodness, we could talk about the pandemic dynamics for hours, I bet, because did you guys you live in Vermont, correct?
Mm-hmm,
okay, so did you experience what we experienced over here with some of the locals being aggressive against people from out of state coming to hike and using your...
Yeah, it was, I mostly saw that like online. But like, yeah, like it was kind of, it was freaky for me hiking at first. Like when I'd pass people, I'd turn my head, I'd hold my breath. Like I didn't want to make conversations. And it's still like, I'm still like kind of coming out of that, where learning to be a social person again, you know, because it can be really social and people can be so friendly. But I don't know, it was, like I said, the pandemic really kind of messed with me. Like,
oh yeah, weird times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was always peculiar. The the walk around. I remember going up Welch Dickey a number of times, and people would literally bushwhack into the woods several feet to go around.
Yeah.
It was such a strange time. But anyway, okay, so here you are, you're exercising, you're finding all this cool stuff, and then you dive into this content creation. So let's backtrack. What did you do over the years to bring you to this place where you're making such cool content? And we'll talk about your channel and your videos later, but let's start early.
Okay. When I was younger, I was into, like I said, tap dancing, ballet, gymnastics, like basically anything where I could dress up and perform. But the weird thing is I always had extreme anxiety as well, like performance anxiety, but I wanted to perform. That's probably where a lot of the alcohol came in later. I don't know. But so I don't know. Let's see. My hula hoop story is an interesting one.
Yeah.
So when, it was probably the early 2000s, I got my kids a Wii. Yeah, I didn't hula hoop when I was a kid either. I didn't hike and I didn't hula hoop.
The electronic Wii.
Yeah, a Wii. Because it was marketed as, your kids will be exercising while they're playing their video games.
It's true though.
So I was like, okay, I'm down. So we were doing that, and we got like rock bands too and cool accessories. And so we got the balance board, which is like for sports. And they had this one that was hula hooping. Okay, so my kids would like kick my ass at like every game. My oldest learned he didn't even have to like do proper like he didn't have to hold his body and do the golf and swing in the right way. He could just sit on the couch and flick his wrist and like get the job done and still win. And so the only thing that I was good at or better than the kids at was the hula hooping one on the balance board.
Oh man, that's great.
So I became a champion, and it became like this thing where I just like did that all the time. And when you turn on the Wii, it says, make sure you stretch before you do this. And I was like, whatever, it's a video game. That's stupid. So after a while, meanwhile, I was still visiting my dad on the weekends. So I was doing a lot of driving, 4-hour drives. So what happened is I really messed up my hip flexor, and I had to go to PT because of it.
Oh.
From my cyber hula hooping, which was my first hula hooping.
Wow, you're like the first cyber hula hooping casualty.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, so I recovered from that, luckily. And I don't know, years later, I was at a friend's house who had a hula hoop, and she had made it, and she told me how she made it. I was like, okay, and I went home, and then I went to the hardware store and got the materials. It was like tubing and a coupler.
Okay, so this is literally like the Luke Skywalker story. You're making your own lightsaber?
Yeah. So I made that and did like duct tape around to do a cool design.
Oh my God.
And then I spent the next day and a half like hula hooping in my yard, like it falling and picking it up and it falling and trying not to let it hurt like my pride and as people drove by. But after like a day and a half, I finally got it. And then I just haven't been able to really stop. I mean, I stopped to go to bed and like go to work and stuff like that, but like, I don't know. It became like this fidget toy for me where I just like decided then to start doing everything weird that I could do with my hula hoop, like play my guitar or eat a hot dog or read a book or just have a cup of tea, and I'd have my roommate at the time, like, take a picture of me. Like,
that's so cool. No, that's so cool. Watching your videos, I thought this was something that, this is definitely a person that's been hula hooping for like 4 decades. You know what I mean? That was my impression. That's really cool. So you just got hooked, and here you are going nuts. Wow, this is great. So tell me a little bit more about your dad. I know you and I have talked briefly in the background, but we have a firefighter connection, actually.
Yeah. So my dad, when he died, he had been living in Hebron, New Hampshire, and he'd been serving as a firefighter and EMT for Bridgewater. When he passed away in Hebron at the Public Safety Center, they have a granite bench that has his name engraved, which is pretty cool. And they still have his firefighter helmet there, which they all signed.
It's in the actual station still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they treat him like he's a hero.
So what's his name?
Ronald Bissonette.
Okay. All right. Interesting. You don't have relatives around here, do you? In this region?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Like married in.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. All right, cool.
So yeah, maybe.
Maybe. We'll talk off air.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, that's great because my grandfather was the captain in Lynn, Massachusetts, in Wyoming Square, and he fought a lot of the big. They were doing a lot of shoe building and shoe manufacturing, so the oils and whatnot, just like so. There's quite a history there, but and we had his helmet too. We had his coat, his boots, the whole thing. So that's really neat.
I do want to say about my dad. Like I didn't hike hardly at all as a kid. Like I probably hiked Camel's Hump and Mount Mansfield on school field trips because I grew up in Underhill, Vermont. So those were the field trips. But my dad took me on one of the like only hikes I went on as like a really young adult to Sterling Pond, and that was really cool.
Yeah,
and that was the first hike that my partner and I went on when we started our hiking.
So how did you go from hula hooping all day long to hiking specifically? Would you say hiking is probably your favorite activity with the hoop now?
Ooh, hiking is like this. It's hard. I almost wore my shirt that says I hate hiking because I bought that in the beginning because I thought it was funny and ironic and kind of true.
It is true.
So I've always been like in the past, rather, I was a self-proclaimed hedon, and I didn't do hard things. I did things that came easy.
Okay.
So the experience of hiking, especially like hiking up big mountains, and like at this time in my life, and I don't have my vices anymore, and I don't know, I'm like a 50-year-old woman, like trying to get into exercise now, and so like hiking, it's like rewarding. I like it sometimes. It's fun occasionally, but like there's so many times I've like cried on the trail or like lost it. Like I hate hiking. I don't even know why I do this.
Oh.
And that kind of stuff, like meltdowns that I'm not proud about.
That's fascinating. Now on your Instagram, I did notice that you posted a picture, your logo with some of your statistics. So are you like a list hiker now, or what? Do you have objectives with the hoop?
Well, I need lists in life to get by. So like we never planned on like starting the New Hampshire 48 and doing a list. We just like went one day. Like my boyfriend was like, "Why don't we try hiking?" Well, first I want to back up actually, because I want to say that with the hula hoop, how hula hooping and hiking crossed over was we'd gotten into hiking like in 2021. We started hiking. Then when the winter came, we started snowshoeing some mountains like Laraway and Stowe Pinnacle and just like some bigger stuff than what I had been doing.
Yeah.
And the following spring, which was the spring of 2022, at some random point, I was like, I want to hula hoop on the highest point in Vermont. It was like in the evening and it was just random. I was like, I want to do that. I want to hula hoop on Mount Mansfield. And I was like, how do I do this? And then I was like, I wonder, and I really thought about just bringing one of my big hoops and carrying it up. And I was like, that is going to be hard, but I'll do it. And then I just decided to look online. Like, I bet they make hula hoops that come apart. And they do. They're weighted hula hoops. And so... instead of carrying an entire hoop up. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I ordered that. And as soon as I got it, we hiked Jay Peak.
Yeah.
And I whipped it out. And there was a few people up there who looked at me like I was the strangest person on earth. And I felt really like uncomfortable in a way, like nervous.
I can totally relate. I don't know if you saw my stupid pool noodle video I made.
No, I've heard about this.
Okay, yeah. So I did the same thing. So I was wondering about that because a lot of your videos, it's just you.
Yeah, we tried to kind of do I don't want to. it was kind of like Banksy in the sense that we tried to go in and do it when people weren't there. We try and hike early. We try and get up there and just get it done. Because I don't always have good times when I'm hiking, to be truthful. It's hard work. And
it is.
And sometimes when I'm really struggling, it takes all I can to focus on my breath and focus on my pace and all that. So then adding in talking to others and stuff, sometimes you're not in the mood, right?
So you're hula hooping in front of a crowd of people.
Yeah, it's I'm asking for it, right?
Yeah. So how did you transition into, hey, I have an idea. I want to start recording this and making some content?
Oh, always from the beginning, because the first thing I was into was photography, and that was from my childhood on.
Okay.
I actually did it in high school, took photography and used a real camera. Now I just use my iPhone. We actually have a GoPro. We just haven't started using it. I feel like we have our hands in so many different, I don't know. It's just...
Well, that's exciting. It's super cool.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a use of a drone in the future. What do you think about that?
I would love that. I feel like I need a crew.
Well, after this conversation, I'm sure people are going to reach out and say, hey, I can help.
Right on.
Wow, that's really great. All right. So you're making these cool videos. You're making the content. Where did you get the name Jeezlouisehoops? How'd you decide on that? That's always a process.
Yes. Louise is my middle name. So, Jeezlouise, I honestly came up with myself. I did not get given that name during my drinking days, and it was kind of like when I felt like being outrageous or something. I don't know. It just kind of came on like this. I don't know.
Yeah. I did some research on the name. There was no clear history as to where that name came from. You can look something up and say, what's the meaning of this name or word? And generally there's a definition or some history.
Right.
Jeezlouise is not a clear-cut history to the name itself. It's very interesting. Some references come back to the 30s, but more like slang. So who knows? Very interesting. What was your plan for the videos? You've got the name. Now, what did you want to accomplish?
So before I was making hula hoop videos, I'd always wanted to make videos. And I just didn't even know how. And once again, one of my friends was like, well, I thought anybody with an iPhone could use iMovie. And I'm like, what's that? Oh, that's that app. I deleted off my phone.
Oh, yeah.
So I checked it out and I was like, oh, this isn't, I just started making random videos, just random stuff. And so I guess it just all was happening at the same time that I had this idea. I'm going to hula hoop on Mount Mansfield.
Mm-hmm.
So after Jay Peak, the following week we hiked Belvedere and I hula hooped there. And then the following week we did Mansfield. And I have to say, hula hooping, I'm not trying to push people to do this by any means, but it is quite exhilarating at times to be on top of a mountain and looking out at the view and hula hooping.
No, it's great. It's awesome.
I think it's I'm a dopamine junkie, I gave up my greatest sources with alcohol and nicotine. So now I'm looking to fill it in with better things,
It's so cool. It takes grit to get up there and do that. And it's self-deprecating. It's I don't care what people think. I'm just going to do this. It's fantastic. All right. Now the other piece of the puzzle, the music, your music selection for the videos is perfect. And it makes it, no, it all ties together. And to me, it seems like your videos are like a time capsule to an earlier innocent age.
Ooh,
it's so cool.
I kind of feel that way too. I look back in the songs. Well, I'm quite moved by music. This and I'll feel moved by each one. I picked the song just depending on the mood of the hike and what I can find that I like. Out of the selection I have.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I was ready to make my own songs and all that, and that.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm forget that. So, I've been pretty happy with the music.
Oh, it's perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think you could pick a better genre or few genres that work so well with it.
Thank you.
And then go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and I feel the progression too, because I do have to say that in the beginning of my movie making with hula hooping and hiking, like I was watching some of those and they're so bad, like the video and like, and it's just like, in the way I put it together, I didn't even know how to use the app I was using and the music choices too. And I see like kind of the progression of like my learning curve, you know, and my partner's learning curve.
Okay, so you're teaming up to do a lot of this. So that's why I asked you, did you listen to our early episodes? Because I can't even listen to them. They're so terrible.
Right.
But that's creativity. It's always progressing and changing and maturing. And yeah, it's great stuff. What else? So you're using, what software do you use? Do you use anything in particular? Or are you just making these right on your phone?
I'm just doing it all on my phone.
That's really impressive.
It's just like the easiest. I know it's not the best quality, which kind of, that does get to me.
You'd never know. But you see, that's the strength of the whole aesthetic of what you're doing, because that's what I mean by it's a time capsule. It doesn't have to be 4K high def because it's not supposed to be, or does it? Yeah,
it's kind of like a diary entry. Like each video is kind of like, I have ADHD and I have a really hard time remembering certain things. Like I'll remember some things forever, and then most other things I'll need to keep hearing. It's like, what's that movie, Groundhog Day or whatever? The same day keeps repeating. I'm like, what's for dinner again, Mom? What's for dinner? What's for dinner?
Oh man. It's so great.
So anyway, having like videos and pictures to look at, and like they help me remember.
Yeah, sure. Wow. Amazing. So I came up with a term for this earlier. I think I don't want this to be offensive, but I came up with this word thinking about people that have props. So prop hiking. And what sets you apart is actually your sort of three-dimensional, because a lot of people will go up on the mountains and take a picture with, hey, look at, I'm on a mountain with a toaster.
Right.
But you break through that and you make it so immersive and three-dimensional, I guess is the good word for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
I'm really, like, my biggest motivation, like what I'm trying to do is art.
Yeah, exactly.
In the end, like it's not hiking that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get the picture and the video and, like, I don't know, capture something.
Oh, I think you have. For sure. It's very unique. It's not cheesy at all. It's makes you think.
Oh,
it really does. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's great stuff. Let's see. Back to hiking, though.
Okay.
How do you prepare for your hikes? Do you? I did notice you had one post that gave me the impression that you don't really hike in the winter as much as you.
Not as much. I have Raynaud's.
I was going to ask you that.
And all of my life I've had it, and it's really like my fingers will freeze like so fast. So we're still trying to like lock in. Actually, I listened to one of your shows, and one of your hikers that you were talking to was talking about this lotion that you can put on your hands, like warm skin or something it's called. So I actually bought some to try that. I also have Ultimates, which are like these like
the mitts are the way to go.
Crazy big mitts. Yeah, I've learned like I have to go in with mitts, go in hot, and then take them off later. Never go in cold with my hands. But like I cannot hula hoop past like, I don't know, like 40 degrees. I can't really operate the buttons. Like, so like in terms of the hula hooping, I don't do that. Hiking, we do some in the winter, some snowshoeing, some microspiking, not as much though. It's so much heavier, all the gear, and like
it is. It's beautiful though.
It's and like I sweat. It's like I have such a hard time regulating my temperature. I feel like I'm too hot, I'm too cold, I'm just like it's like I'm constantly like I have to take another layer off. No, I'm too cold. No, it's just the whole time. I'm like I feel so needy.
Yeah, that's the whole trick with winter. It's not easy at all.
Yeah.
It takes quite a while. It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Unlike summer, I'm sweaty top to bottom. Mm-hmm. You can get by with that, but in the winter it's just not the same. Wow. Okay, so I do want to see more winter videos though, personally.
Okay. Yeah, they are pretty cool, and I okay, I'll take.
Is that a deal?
All right. Yeah, I'll put at least a couple more out.
All right, awesome. All right, so we talked about the video, your production method. I noticed that you speed up some of your frames too. I like that.
Yeah, I used to do all of the frames completely sped up, which made the pans like a little, like sometimes I look at the old panning and it makes me a little nauseous. It's so fast. But so now I kind of am tweaking it a little more. Like it's not all got to be sped up to the exact same speed.
Yeah.
So working with that to try and match it with the music as well.
Yeah, that's excellent. So any future plans for the whole content or for the channel?
So my hula hoop is in a bag that I made myself. And me and my partner make gear out of X-Pack and EcoPack and Dyneema, which are like earth-friendly and they're waterproof. The things we were making are water-resistant at this point, like wallets, purses, some cinch bags. We don't have a website yet, so if anybody's interested, they'd have to get in touch with me.
Okay.
But yeah, it's called Spruce Fur, and we're planning on, we'll probably do more sewing in the winter. It's just hard. It's been go time. Like we've been trying to do Maine, the 4,000 footers in Maine. So we've done 11 of those.
Okay. So much for hiking is not my favorite thing.
I know. It's like I've created a monster. Because I'm like, I dream of the day when I just like go for a light hike and I don't have my hula hoop and it's just like easy because that's like almost 2.5 pounds of extra weight. But then it's like I can't go on a hike without it. So I'm like, I have this like FOMO or something. It's like hula hoop FOMO. I don't even know what that is, but I have it. So.
All right. So, wow. So you do the sewing or you're making these beautiful bags, and you did bring a couple here for Mike and I really appreciate it. The bag is absolutely beautiful. This is like a 6x5 inch zip bag, and it looks perfect for the pack, and I'm always looking for bags like this. You should tell us how people can get a hold of you, what websites are live, and let us know where people can get your stuff.
Okay, so my videos are on YouTube under Jeezlouisehoops. And I'm on Instagram under Jeezlouisehoops. I'm just learning how to Instagram. I should be so much better. I have 3 kids. I mean, they can all do it, but I don't know. So still working on that, but I am on Instagram and I'm on Facebook, but as Amy Lee.
Amy Lee. So AMY.
AMYLEE. And if you want to do something really old school, you can email me at jeezlouisehoops@yahoo.com.
That's so awesome. Oh man, that's great. So it's GEEZ.
J.
Oh, okay. Gee whiz. I'm going to have to correct all my spelling here. J. So how can I make that?
Gee whiz.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Well, we will correct that before we publish. That's for sure. Wow, that's fantastic. So any other thing you want to talk about, or?
Let me see. Okay, so I've done, with my hula hoop, I've done all of the 4,000 footers in Vermont, which there's 5. I've done the 48 in New Hampshire, and I've done 11 out of 14 of Maine. We have Katahdin and North Brother left to do. I'm not sure when we're going to do that.
Wow.
Maybe this year, maybe not. We're trying to find the balance between hiking and the rest of life.
Right.
And that's hard. But yeah, I did want to mention that with my hiking, I bring my hula hoop on all my hikes, but I got to show you this.
Sure.
I also bring a bag that has a marble in it that I made.
Here. That you made?
That I made. That has some ashes from my father in it.
Oh my goodness.
And I bring that on all my hikes. I actually, I didn't bring it on my first hike in New Hampshire, which was Lafayette and Lincoln. So I had to repeat that hike, which I did. So that's been on every hike with me. So
it's a legit marble.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you make that?
My boyfriend's a glass blower, so he has all the equipment. We have it in our barn. And so he's teaching me. I made a marble. That's the level I'm at, marble.
That's fantastic. So you have to, you have to get a website up because you guys seem to be so multi-talented.
I didn't even talk about the fire dancing I used to do.
I've seen that once, and it was at Ice Castles. And it was very impressive. So, yeah, tell me about it.
Oh, well, I used to do that too. I was in a fire dancing troupe, and I used fire poi, which are made out of Kevlar. And I didn't use white gas. I used lamp oil. And you just dip them in and light them on fire, swing them around.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it recently, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah,
so it's
cool.
not a bar. It's like more chain. It's loose.
It's on a chain.
Exactly.
There's like grips.
Yeah.
It's on a chain.
And it can be super dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. I've burned myself. I've hit myself. Those things are hard when you whale yourself with them. Yeah.
That's amazing. Any close calls with search and rescue or injuries or anything like that up on trail?
No, you know what?
Knock on wood.
I have to say, when you first got in touch with me, I was like, why is a search and rescue podcast getting in touch with me? Are they going to try and roast me because I'm doing like unsafe things? That was my first thought. Not that I'm paranoid.
No, I mean, we're all about local interest and anything hiking. And I was actually talking to somebody just a few days back about the meaning of the name of the podcast and the name itself. Some people think we're a search and rescue podcast because it says that, but that wasn't the point. It was, if you and I were talking about a story of two people that went out unprepared, we'd look at each other and go, that sounds like a search and rescue.
Right.
About to happen.
Yeah.
That was the context of it.
I haven't, and I'm so determined to never need a rescue.
Yeah. That's great.
I am so, and I have to say, like, we try and make what I do look dangerous, like more dangerous than what I try. I'm a safety, like, I'm not saying I've always been 1000% safe, but like, I really try to be. Like, I try and have firm footing. We just try and play with the camera to make it look a little sketch. But
you won't be hula hooping the terrifying 25 anytime soon?
I have been on several of them. I've had panic attacks on at least 3 of them.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you're a fascinating person, and it was very nice to meet you, and very nice to meet Will. And again, it's Jeezlouisehoops with a J.
J, yes.
And we will add all the links to the show, which will be out tomorrow morning, after a long night of editing. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we're back. That was pretty neat, huh?
All right, Stomp. Did you learn everything you need to learn about hula hooping and hiking?
Yeah, I think I'm going to get back into tip-top shape doing some hula hooping.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm going to get those hips moving.
Build those core muscles.
Core muscles, hip muscles. Yeah, I think I might give up hiking and just hula hoop for a couple hours every day.
Yes. Yes, I think that sounds good. And then to add jump roping into the jump roping while hula hooping.
Well, that's the most impressive thing about Jeezlouise. She walks and does it.
Yes.
I can't figure that out. That's coordination right there.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Slasher's hiking topic of the week.
All right, Stomp. So I had taken, we've done, I think in show 23, and then it might have been in show like 123, we've done like fall foliage segments before, just prepping people. Every year we kind of do one. So I wanted to just do a recap of planning for fall foliage. If you're a listener and you're too lazy, like I'm lazy, so I don't go back to stuff. But if you're a newer listener and you haven't gone back, we wanted to cover sort of our take on fall foliage and planning for fall foliage. So starting off, Stomp, I think just like the dates to be thinking about fall foliage. So I did spot there was 2 trees I identified that had leaves changing. There's a 1 red tree and there's a 1 orange tree last weekend. So the leaves are changing already, but really from a fall foliage perspective, you want to think about the last week of September through about the 4th week of October. And typically Up in North Country, so Coos County, Dixville, Notch, Pittsburgh, Grafton, Notch, you're talking about like the last week in September to the first week of October. I haven't looked at the calendar this year, Stomp. Maybe it's slid down a little bit one way or the other. I don't know. But I think early season, you want to think like sort of the North Country. And then once you get in the first, second week, typically that's when the White Mountains will start popping a little bit. And you usually hold off until about the third week. Then third and fourth week, you're getting down into the Lakes region, and then you can start thinking about the Berkshires and southern New Hampshire as well.
Right. And just a side note, from what I've seen so far, I'm curious if the colors are going to be as vibrant as years past, because I'm seeing some muted, even like almost decaying type of leaf structure from what I've seen down here. So we shall see. That's always the big question.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't look. Yeah. I didn't look to see what the colors would look like here, but yeah, you can go online to figure it out. But it just in general terms, like last week of September till about the first week of November, you'll get some foliage between northern New Hampshire down into Massachusetts. But I think second, third, fourth week of October is where, in the White Mountains and the Lakes region, it'll really start popping. So I think Stomp, the way we always talk about the ways to enjoy foliage. You can do drives, you can do easy hikes, you can do epic hikes. So from a driving perspective, I always advise listeners to avoid the heavily traveled roads, 93 North, Route 16. Stay off the Kank, stay away from Lincoln and North Conway. Typically, those are the areas that get really filled up. So in the early season, I recommend checking out Grafton Notch. So go up 95 North, and then you can cut over to Route 26 and go through Newry and Bethel from the Boston area. And there's a lot of easy pull-offs in Grafton Notch. You can go as far up as Dixville, and then come home via Route 5 into Freiburg and in that area there. Then I guess maybe you can go south down Route 16 if you want to get out of there. But like Newry, Bethel, Freiburg, Cornish, Maine, a bunch of good pull-offs in those areas that you can check out for good drives. And then I also recommend Grafton Turnpike, which is over by Hanover. So you can take route, I think you can come up 93.
Yeah, 25-ish.
Yeah, so you do Route 10, drive to 25A, connect to Route 3A, and you can go into like, if you come south, that you can come into Franklin and then out 93. But I think Grafton Turnpike, to me, driving that during like foliage season is like unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. Yeah, I had similar thoughts. 25 is great for sure. I would agree. Try to avoid Lincoln. It's just not worth the hassle when you're at the high season.
And then any of the drives for you, Stomp, that you recommend?
I love the drive towards Stark, towards Whitefield, Lancaster. It's just I prefer the open, wide fields, and you get a lot of that when you're driving north through the North Country. I love it. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And I'd made note here in the past about taking some of those forest roads. You may not get the expansive views, but you're surrounded in that immersive foliage, and it can be beautiful. Sandwich Notch Road, Tripoli Road, all great options.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I had here like 113 in Tamworth, which I think you can connect to Sandwich Notch Road in that way. That's another great drive that you can head over to the Lakes region on too. So
yeah, a
lot of options. It's just some of these are tricky because you do need to go on 16 or 93, but I do recommend that like farther north drive on taking 95 north to 26 and get up to like Sunday River in that area because it's really nice. All right, Stomp, and then we've got easy hikes. And what I recommend for people to think about when they're doing the two things that I recommend when it comes to fall foliage is you can do hikes where you're immersed into the environment, which means you're on a summit of a mountain, but it's a lower mountain, so you're kind of surrounded by other mountains that are higher than you. So in that way, it creates this immersive effect where you're like inside a bowl of just awesome foliage. And I think for me, like the middle those Sugarloafs that are off of Zealand Notch Road, to me, those are like the prototypical, like you're immersed, right? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, a mile up and you're in it.
Exactly. So there's
so great.
And then the other, I guess, the second way to think about foliage that, in my view, is the best way to experience it is the hikes where you're overlooking a notch, where you can sort of see the curve of the notch going either north or south or whatever direction. And for me, like Cannon Cliffs is the good example of that, is you can sort of see the contour of the notch and the colors that change, and you can look in either direction. The other one that I recommend is Glen Boulder. So you get to Glen Boulder and you can look up into Pinkham Notch or south down into Pinkham Notch. So those to me
Willard
would be another
would
one.
fall into that.
Correct. Yeah. Willard, and then Webster and Jackson would be the other ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, so those are good. But a couple of the other immersive hikes, again, these are the ones that sort of drop you into the middle. So Pine Mountain is a good one. So you're sort of like the lower peak that's in front of Madison. So you're kind of surrounded by Mount Madison there. I thought Mount Pemigewasset was another one.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit more vigorous, I guess, but not that bad.
Yep. Yeah, and then Morgan and Percival was another one that's got like a lakes region view that I thought was good.
Yeah, of the Squams, and I made a note here on the other side of that lake. You have Eagle Cliff, which is looking towards Morgan Percival, so it's same neighborhood, but same great view.
Okay, yeah, and that's another Eagle Cliff. That's not the Eagle Cliff that we were talking about related to the Watcher.
Correct. Yes, and this is that short one we talked about recently. It's like 0.5 up to the little cliff.
Yep. Yeah. Another one that I had that was sort of on the easier sort of, it's not immersive, but the South Moat, I think, is a good one because you can look down into the valley for North Conway, which I think is great.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yep.
I got to get over there.
Yeah. And then Stomp, moving on to some of the epic hikes that I recommend. I already talked about like Glen Boulder to Isolation, I think, is an epic fall hike. I think Cannon Cliffs is another one. And then I had Mount Cube. I think that's a great foliage hike. And then I had Mount Stairs, Crawford, and Resolution as another great foliage hike.
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah, those are all awesome.
Yep.
Glen Boulder, Cannon Cliffs. So Cannon Cliffs, when you say Cannon Cliffs, what are you saying?
I'm thinking of that like
Kinsman
lower,
Ridge Trail?
like the lower section. So you summit.
Yeah, the outlook.
Yeah, exactly. So like that,
okay.
like just the cliff section where you go down off trail a little bit and you can look in either direction in Franconia to see it. Like matter of fact, I'm looking at a photo of me right now, just looking out at Franconia, and it's got like awesome foliage views.
Yeah. Awesome. I would suggest some of the Mahoosics too, like Goose Eye is great. That's fairly easily accessible. Mount Success would be nice. And then, I don't know, I mean, for the ultimate, I just go back to that Westbourne Summit, man. That spur, that 0.5 spur off of the Pemi is so unbelievable.
Yeah, that's another immersive. Yeah, that's the best spot in the Whites.
Oh, yeah. Or maybe Mount Height.
Yeah.
You know, it's similar in nature.
Yeah,
Great
but I do
stuff.
think that like whatever the Middle Sugarloaf, or I get those confused. Which one? There's Middle and what, North Sugarloaf? I can't remember.
It's middle has that really nice open view. The north is it's more of just the cliff view.
Yeah.
Facing east.
Got it.
So when you
Middle's got like it's
you
not
get up to
360, but it's close.
pretty close. Yeah, you can still see Mount Washington and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, that to me is the best bang for your buck for any fall foliage hike.
Yeah, did you mention Mount Martha?
Oh, I didn't actually. That's
Owl's
another
Head?
one. Yeah, Owl's Head Martha is another one.
Yep.
So
Yep. Going up Mount Martha, ascending Owl's Head, that's a challenge. It's a steep trail.
It's a grind. Yeah.
Yeah, it sure is.
You know what? Actually, Stomp, I didn't even put these on my recent hikes, but one of the things I've been doing, if people are interested in like an easier hike, is in North Conway. You can park behind the Walmart where Redstone is, and then take the walking path for 2 miles, and then connect with the trail system in the Green Hills, and you can get up to Middle Mountain and Peaked Mountain. And those are on the opposite side of the moats. Okay. And you can hike up those. Those will be fantastic fall foliage hikes too.
Okay.
I've been doing those. I just do my morning run when I'm not going hiking. I run the path, and then I'll fly up Peaked or Middle and just get the views.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good call.
Yep. And then any safety pointers you want to remind the listeners about Stomp?
Temperature and light. Temperature and light. That's really what it comes down to. Make sure you're packing everything you need, because it does get cooler quick once that sun goes down. And the sun does go down. Don't forget that. We're coming up on the change of the time. It's going to be darker a lot quicker during these next few months. And make sure you have those headlamps. Mike likes to pack about a dozen headlamps.
Just two.
Which is good. Yeah, make sure you have it. And make sure you have a map or some means of looking at where the heck you're going if you're not 100% familiar. You should know where you're going in these circumstances, because if you do get stuck out there in the colder weather, it does become a little bit more dangerous and risky. I would suggest traveling with a travel mat. I've got my Thermarest on my pack now, regardless of what I'm doing. Pack a bivvy. It's little solo handheld bivvies are great. They keep like 80 to 90% of your body heat if you were really in a pinch, waiting for somebody to come pluck you out of the woods. Hand warmers, fire starters, gloves, hats, all the basic stuff. I think it's time to start packing that stuff, especially with this early fall sensation that we're experiencing here.
Yeah. I put my sit pad in my backpack, and I put my puff jacket in there. Didn't need to use it at all, but it's just good to have it. So it's time.
Yeah. And I love this last point here. Watch those leaves. The leaves are slippery. They do hide what's underneath them, which can be wet granite. So just plan your steps. Be cautious. Watch out for the roots.
The roots.
Treacherous.
Yes. Stomp. We're going to go into recent search and rescue here, Stomp. So have you ever gone hiking with coworkers?
Coworkers, maybe here and there, not too often.
Okay. Do you think, like, are there any coworkers that you don't get along with that you might leave on trail?
Oh, I could think of a few.
You could? All right. I would never do that to my coworkers. I love them all. So anyway, this is a story out of Colorado. Stomp, I think you got this from a few people. I got this story emailed to me like by 2 or 3 different people. So I think Al sent it over to me, but I appreciate. So a man was left behind on a Colorado mountain while on a hiking retreat with coworkers. He had to be rescued by emergency services. So the man was not named, but he was with a group of 15 people hiking Mount Shavano, which is a 14,000-foot mountain in the southern Rockies. So all 15 coworkers were participating in an office retreat, and they were taking the standard route to the top of the mountain. So it's an 11-mile hike. Like, what business is this that's doing an 11-mile, 14,000-foot mountain for a hike?
Team building.
I mean, I would just be like, look, give me a fun fact and let's call it a day.
Team building. Oh, boy.
So anyway, so it was expected to take 9 hours to complete on average. So the group started the trek on August 23rd, and in what might cause some awkward encounters at the office in the coming days and weeks, the man was left to complete his final summit push alone. Chaffee County Search and Rescue said on social media. So Chaffee County Search and Rescue got a sense of humor.
Right.
The man summited the mountain at 11:30, so that's not bad, but still later than the rest of his coworkers. He then became disoriented while descending. I wonder what the conversation was with them coming down and him coming up. I don't know. Doesn't say. So apparently, I guess he came down later than his coworkers. He then became disoriented while descending. Belongings that he had left to mark his path had been moved by another group of hikers, and he had made a wrong turn. So Stomp, that happens. We have these people leaving stuff behind, and we leave no trace police here, and we pick things up. So maybe you want to just check for freshness if you're going to grab anybody else's stuff.
Right, absolutely.
So apparently he made a wrong turn in a steep boulder field. All the stuff that he was using to rely on where he was going to come back to was gone, and he ended up texting his coworkers his location, and they told him that he had the wrong route and attempted to give him directions. So the man continued hiking. He sent another pin with an updated location to his coworkers around 3:30. But right after that, a strong storm with freezing rain and high winds tore through the area. He got disoriented. He lost cell phone signal. And I guess they contacted search and rescue at that point. And they got a couple of search teams and a drone pilot to dispatch from the same trailhead. And the team was focusing on an area near where the man had sent his second location. The weather was complicating things, but by 9 a.m. the next morning, after 12 hours of searching, they still had no sign of the guy. But he had regained enough cell service to make a 911 call around that time. He was very disoriented. He fell about 20 times, couldn't get back up. But the call was, they were able to confirm his location, and I guess they were able to get him out using ropes to enter the gully where the guy had fallen, and then they got him out. He was transported to a local hospital, and they had no information on his condition, but rumor has it that his performance review is going to come back pretty bad after this.
Rumor. Oh my God, what a terrible story.
How awkward.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Awkward. All right. So next one is in Arizona at the Grand Canyon. So this is that Havasupai Reservation. So this is that like really amazing waterfall with the blue water that everybody has to get reservations to hike into. So an estimated 100 plus tribal members and tourists near Havasupai Falls were evacuated after floodwaters on Thursday left them stranded. I saw some video on this. Like people were crying, freaking out. I think that this was a pretty serious situation, so they had to coordinate rescue efforts on, I guess this was the National Guard was deployed in response to this flooding near the Grand Canyon, and it did sweep away one woman from Gilbert, Arizona, who went missing around 1:30 on Thursday during the flash flood about a half a mile from the Colorado River. She was hiking with her husband when she was taken by the water, unfortunately, and apparently the guard had to go in and, this person, unfortunately, I think did not survive, but the National Guard was able to respond and evacuate all the people from the area. But definitely crazy out there in the West, Stomp. Like they get those flash floods and it might be sunny and you might not realize it's coming.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I've seen some crazy videos on YouTube recently.
Yeah.
Cars getting swept away and families up on these little sandbanks, and gee whiz. Jeez Louise.
Yeah. And I guess the area is indefinitely closed for now, so they are assessing the situation, but that's a shame because it's a very popular area.
Yeah. Well, a dangerous area. That's 100 people.
Yes.
Needs to be reassessed.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
All right, Stomp. Now moving on to local news here. So this is we skipped last week. We had a long show, so we skipped it. But there was a deceased hiker found on the Gulfside Trail, I think close to the summit of Mount Washington. So this was on Thursday, August 22nd. A hiker was found on the junction of the Gulfside Trail near West Side Trail. So this is essentially like very close to where the Cog Railroad tracks are, about half a mile from the summit and about 400 feet from the tracks. So Fish and Game requested and received assistance from the Cog Railway, who offered one of their trains along with personnel to assist with the recovery. The recovery team was taken up in a train and hiked to the scene with a litter. The body was placed in the litter and carried back to the train and transported down to base station. The hiker, whose name was being withheld pending family notification, was a 72-year-old male from Virginia, according to his driver's license. It appears that the hiker had succumbed to exposure. So I think that week or that night, the weather was probably getting a little cold. Not a lot of information given about the hiker. He was dressed in jeans, had on a navy blue raincoat, and was wearing brown hiking boots and a small blue backpack. Wasn't prepared for the conditions that were present in the higher summits, and they suspect that he took the train up to the summit on Wednesday the 21st and then attempted to hike back down.
Wow, that's a shame. Rest in peace.
Yes, yeah. So second fatality that I can think of this summer anyway, because we had another fatality in Kinsman. So yeah, terrible story, but we'll keep an eye on it. If any more details come out, we'll share it.
Yeah, well, there's that Dry River too.
Remember the Dry River, that's right too. Yeah, that's right. So 3. So the next one, Stomp, was August 19th. This was on the Winslow Trail in Mount Kearsarge. So this is the Mount Kearsarge that's down in Wilmot, New Hampshire. So this is the southern Mount Kearsarge that's on the 52 with a view list. So at 3 p.m. on the 19th, officers were made aware of an injured hiker on the Winslow Trail just below the summit. Members of Wilmot Fire Department responded up the trail from the north side of the mountain. I think that mountain has like a fire road on the back of it, but I guess they didn't really. It's not a super tall mountain, but they basically got to the hiker at 4:15, and they were able to stabilize the injury. Looks like a lower leg injury, and it was determined that the easiest way to get out would be to carry the injured hiker back to the summit and then, down the Rawlins State Park access road. So that's right, they have an access road that goes to the summit. Carryout commenced at 4:30, and they got him up there by 5:30, and then they were able to take him down the road and get him out to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. So hiker was a 30-year-old from Lowell, Massachusetts.
Okay, slip and fall?
Yeah, looks like it. So all good, though. Yeah, that's not a bad place to need a rescue. They got a road to the top. That's a cool. Have you been on that mountain?
No, I haven't. I've been on the Kearsarge right next door.
Yeah, well, Kearsarge North is in. That's what this summit was. Is Mount Kearsarge in Wilmot?
Correct. I've been on that one.
Oh, that's where this was.
I've been on both.
Yeah, right. Kearsarge North is in North Conway.
Right.
Regular Kearsarge, you've been on the one with the little it's got a fire tower, but a different fire tower, not the one that me and you went to.
Right. Yes, I've been to both.
Okay.
Mrs. Stomp and I did this one.
Okay.
That we're talking about.
That's what I was asking.
It's
Stomp.
a quick little hike.
Yes.
Better check your headphones.
No, I know. There's too many Kearsarges right now. Okay, Stomp. Here's one that you haven't been on. So, injured hiker on South Moat Trail. So, this one happened on August 19th. This was a call. 53-year-old from Conway, New Hampshire, was hiking the South Moat Trail when she slipped and fell and injured her ankle and was unable to bear weight and walk. So 1:30 the call came in. Lakes Region Search and Rescue is activated along with conservation officers, and they arrived to the hiker's location at 3 o'clock, so about 90 minutes to get there. She was then carried to the trailhead parking area, arriving at 6:35, and then transported to Memorial Hospital in North Conway for evaluation. So Fish and Game gave the hiker a shout out, saying she was well prepared for the hike and had all the essentials, and had also recently purchased a hike safe card.
Okay.
Sounds good. You should get a drop stomp for when we say that the hiker was well prepared. and they have their hike safe. You should do that. You know that crowd sharing noise that you have?
Oh, yeah.
You should put that in here. So
I'll see if I can develop something.
Mark this spot.
Absolutely. So, you know what I like about this story? It's a great example of the time it takes to get to a person versus the time it takes to get out. So
yeah, it was 90 minutes to
call
get to her
1:30.
and then 3 hours to get her out.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's basically doubled.
What is the, like, one thing I'm curious about, Stomp, is like when you get to a person, what is the typical, like, amount of time that you spend fussing around figuring out, like, all right, we got to get you in the litter and we got to assess your injury, and like, is that typically like a half hour? Is that like 5 minutes? Is it, how long does that usually take?
I think on average, just based upon my own experience, probably half an hour, just on average, but there's so many variations. And it depends when you're starting to count. I mean, you have to wait till the litter shows up. You have to stabilize the patient, depends how severe the injury is. But on average, yeah, maybe half an hour.
Half hour, okay.
That's reasonable, yeah.
All right. Cool. So here we got another injury on Mount Monadnock. So this is on August 19th, 2:30. Fish and Game was notified of a injured hiker near the summit of Mount Monadnock. Park staff was able to locate the hiker and his companion and assisted them to the tree line to get some protection from the weather. 34-year-old from Sharon, Mass. He had suffered non-life-threatening injuries to his leg while descending slippery rocks. He was able to hike off the mountain with assistance from rescuers, and apparently was transported to the hospital by his hiking companion. So all's well that ends well in Monadnock.
And I was going to say earlier, Monadnock is a decent option for foliage as well, for late foliage.
Yes.
And I want to give a shout out to Mount Wachusett too, because that's a short and easy one. And you get that, you're surrounded by the plains of Western Massachusetts, central Western Mass. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. And
it's a good spot.
Greylock's another one too later in the season too.
Yeah.
I had a good time. I'm going to get back out there. I'm going to time it so that Jack's hot dog stand is open though.
Where's that?
That's in North Adams. Yeah.
Okay. It's such a great area. Yeah. I love that whole entire area. Western Mass is great.
Yeah, it is. Hey, Stomp, speaking of Monadnock, my daughter was telling me the story. She was supposed to go hiking with her and her boyfriend, have a group of friends. They were going to go hiking on Monadnock. For whatever reason, they decided not to go. And apparently, one of the friends needed a rescue. So
he went solo. They went solo.
I guess they went with a group, but one of the friends, acquaintances of the friends, needed a rescue, or some issue popped up where they had like fatigue and they needed someone to help them get down or something like that. So I told my daughter, I was like, "Good thing you didn't end up on the news report."
Yeah. Where's your daughter living? Is she living out there?
No, she lives here now. So
she's okay.
My oldest one does, but
figure out who's where.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter is actually out in Keene now. So
nice.
Right nearby. We're trying to get her out to Monadnock. We're going to visit her this Sunday and check out the new pad.
Nice. Yeah. So I think my daughter has plans to get to New Hampshire at some point, but for now she's just living at home and working. So it's nice to have. So we're not fully empty nested.
Yeah, almost.
That's what. So it's like me and my wife and my oldest daughter can chill and watch Below Deck every night. So anyway, so here's another one from Wednesday, August 21st. This is a hiker rescued in Pinkham Notch. So this was a wet and cold hiker was stuck off trail next to the Ellis River. So on August 20th, officers received a call from 911 indicating a young woman was wet, stuck, and cold, and they were down on a steep embankment near the Ellis River adjacent to the Tuckerman Ravine Trail.
Wow.
I don't know where that would be. Yeah, I guess. So attempted callbacks to the hiker were unsuccessful, and authorities quickly mobilized to avoid the dangers of a hypothermic situation. So temperatures in the notch were around 50 at the time of the call, with temperatures expected to lower prior to dawn. So rescuers arrived at the Tuckerman Ravine trailhead after midnight and began hiking towards the location given for the caller, which was about a half a mile from Pinkham Notch Visitor Center. So I'm assuming they went up the lower part of Tuckerman Ravine. So 1:20 a.m. on Wednesday, they located the hiker on the opposite side of the Ellis River from the Tuckerman Ravine Trail. 37-year-old hiker from Quebec was found to be very cold and wet. She was given warm clothing and assisted back across the river to the trail. She was fatigued but able to hike down the trail and arrive safely at 2:21. Hikers learned that the catalyst for this incident was a lack of a headlight, so she had no light. So once the daylight ran out, she decided to follow the river down Mount Washington. That's not a good call.
Wow. Well, I mean, what else could you have done without the lights?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess she just sit tight. But she got soaking wet. She lost a shoe, feared for her life, which was the right thing to do for her to call. And she's very lucky that she was close enough where they could find her.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a terrible situation.
That's a really close call.
Right. And it just harkens back to what we talked about earlier, just having all that stuff in your pack. Your light, clothing, your shelter, your pad, all of it.
Yep, exactly. All right, so this next one, Saturday, August 24th, Stomp. New Hampshire fishing game notified of a hiker that was disoriented on Mount Chicora. The hiker was a 28-year-old hiker from Flatwood, Kentucky. That sounds like a cool place to live. Flatwood, Kentucky. Feels like it's like a Dukes of Hazzard town, I call that. You know what I mean? It's got like the Boss Hog.
Oh, yeah. Flatwood.
Where are you from, Stomp? Oh, ask me where I'm from.
I like that. Where are you from, Mike?
Flatwoods, Kentucky.
Well, darn it.
Yep.
Diggity dog.
So anyway, she's 28-year-old. She needed assurance that she was on the correct trail. We see this a lot on Chicora. It's a little bit of a maze over there. So over the course of an hour, her progress was monitored. She was following the Brook Trail down the mountain, but it was still over 2.5. So the Brook Trail it's not as well traveled. It's sort of up the backside of the mountain, sort of on the northwest side of the mountain. It's pretty steep. So she's disoriented at 7 p.m. She was directed to stay on the Brook Trail, and eventually she arrived at the trailhead around 9 p.m. and was driven back to Champney Falls, where her vehicle was located. So she just took a wrong turn off of that summit there, which we've seen that happen quite a bit with Chicora, is people just like they get up to the summit and they don't know exactly how to get back to where they were.
Yep. Despite the signage.
Yep.
You're really just relying on painted rocks, markings on rocks up there, and that can get a little confusing.
Yeah, I mean, we take it for granted. I mean, I've been up there how many times, but you take it for granted, like you just sort of know where you're going, but it takes a couple of times to get it down. So,
can I interject here? I forgot. Knobbie and I talked to one of the trail workers on the way up, as we were coming down Greenleaf Trail, and the fella confirmed to us that they are working on rebuilding cairns on Greenleaf between the hut and the summit, and you may notice some new cairns there now, but they're also going to be focusing on those hairpins, and that's good news.
That is good.
Really good news.
It's needed.
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right, Stomp. So August 30th, this was a fishing game notified of a hiker on the Mount Osceola Trail who was injured and required help. This was a hiker from Rochester, Minnesota, who had suffered a serious lower leg injury after slipping on the trail and could no longer hike. So rescuers from Pemi Valley Search and Rescue, Waterville Valley Department of Public Safety, and conservation officers responded to carry the hiker over 2.5 miles down the trail. So that's a long distance. The hiker was...
That trail is long.
Oh, yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it is. So the call came in at 1:30. Rescuers reached the hiker at 3:45. At 4:30, so this goes back to what we were talking about, Stomp, how long it takes you guys to prep. So at 4:30, the rescue party just started descending the trail and ended up getting out of the trailhead at 7. So it's about 6 hours or so. Over 20 rescuers were involved, most of whom are volunteers. The hiker was transported to Spear Memorial Hospital in Plymouth for additional medical treatment, and he'd been with a partner and was well equipped for a day hike on Mount Osceola. So slips happen.
There was much rejoicing.
Slip happens.
Oh, that's the drop we should use.
Slip happens.
Monty Python.
Yeah.
And there was much rejoicing.
Yes. Yeah, that would be a good one. I'll leave it up to you. Don't do anything copyright, Stomp. I don't want to get sued.
Exactly.
And then last but not least, Old Bridle Path Stomp. 8 p.m. on September 1st, so this was this weekend. Fish and game officers were made aware of an injured hiker on Old Bridle, almost a mile from the trailhead. Conservation officers, along with Pemi Valley Search and Rescue, responded by 9 p.m. The first rescuers arrived with the injured hiker and a contingent of Good Samaritan hikers who had stopped to aid the hiker. It was determined that the hiker had a medical event which led to a lower leg injury that prevented the hiker from continuing without being carried off the trail. So at 9:30, the carryout commenced, and by 10:30, the rescue party had arrived at the trailhead. This was a 38-year-old hiker from Mapleshade, New Jersey, who had completed the Falling Waters Bridle Path Loop when the incident, or trying to complete the incident. So passing hikers and a hiking companion were able to render aid, stabilizing the hiker until rescuers arrived. And then she was transported from the trailhead by her hiking companion, and they said that they were both well prepared for a day hike. So get a hike safe card, Stomp.
Absolutely. Yep. Support Fish and Game.
All right, Stomp. I'm going to go back to my my farm in Flatwood, Kentucky, and I will see you next week.
All right. Hey, you know what? I got one last thing to add to the potpourri here.
Okay.
I think we need to mention this because we're part of it. The Rescue Me 5K.
Oh, yes.
Coming up. Let me just mention it once, and we'll touch upon it again. But Saturday, November 9th, 2024 at One Love Brewery, 25 South Mountain Drive, Lincoln. It's the Rescue Me 5K race, which benefits local search and rescue. And we will be there as well, helping out. But yeah, check it out. Sign up. You can sign up on runsignup.com. But that's coming up soon.
Very good, Stomp. I think I feel like I placed last year in my age group, so I have some pressure.
Well, we're apparently hosting this one. Do you remember?
Oh, true. So maybe that's my
I don't know if you'll be racing. Yeah. Well, actually, I guess you could do both.
Yeah, I could do both.
Yeah, there you go. You could do a mic drop. You could do a countdown. Get everybody running and just do a mic drop and start running.
That's true. All right, so last year I'm just looking at my results. So I was 10th place overall. Basically everybody there's one guy that, okay, well, never mind. I was going to say it's all like high school kids that beat me, but it's not. There was a 66-year-old dude that ran a 1940. Oh, like, what's this guy beat? What kind of Wheaties is this guy eating? But anyway, I finished first in my age group, so I'm defending champion, Stomp.
Oh, excellent. That's so great.
Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah.
We will.
I won't be running it this year. I'm out of the running gig for a little while.
Okay. Well, we will. Anyway. We'll see everybody next week.
All righty. Later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at SLASRPodcast.com. That's SLASRPodcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words to describe this race. Do we all know what they are? Only one hell!
Here's Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared, and I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us at all.